Dr. Disrespect. In June 2020, Dr. Disrespect was banned from Twitch, and the action was permanent according to major outlets, which shook the scene, since he had recently signed an exclusivity deal earlier that year. Twitch gave a generic statement about enforcing its guidelines without naming a reason, and he said publicly that Twitch had not told him why the decision happened, which left the community spinning. Later in June 2024, former employees claimed the ban involved messages he sent to a minor in 2017 through the Whisper system, and those reports pushed the story into a sharper focus. He admitted that messages existed and said they sometimes leaned too far, which caused sponsors to scatter and led his game studio Midnight Society to cut ties with him. His YouTube monetization was suspended, and several partnerships were dissolved as the controversy widened. The fallout spread across platforms, even though no public legal case linked the messages to criminal charges. By January 2025, YouTube reinstated his monetization, and he kept streaming elsewhere, which felt like watching a character respawn after losing a long boss fight, only with fewer victory fireworks and a lot more uncomfortable silence than anyone expected earlier.
Kai Cenat. Kai's had a wild ride with Twitch suspensions, but somehow keeps bouncing back like nothing happened. His April 17, 2023 ban lasted around 7 days, and Twitch never explained why. Some sources hinted it might have been for simulating sexual activity, but that claim's shaky at best and came from a less than reliable corner of the internet. Then there's his infamous November 3, 2024 ban, which lasted just over 6 minutes. That one happened during Mafiathon 2. His second subathon, police showed up at his house, which triggered the ban, probably due to Twitch's security concerns. It wasn't about content, just chaos. There were even earlier bans going back to 2021, including January 26, 2023, March 2, 2022, and August 7, 2021. These older ones didn't make huge waves, but they added to the pattern. On April 3, 2025, another 2-day suspension hit, but again, no official explanation. Then there's the off-platform chaos. In August 2023, Kai planned a giveaway in New York City's Union Square, but it exploded into a full-blown riot. He was arrested for inciting it, but the charges were dropped after he paid $55,000 and apologized. The whole thing's a reminder that streaming stunts can spiral fast. By the way, if you guys like streaming content like this, I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe. Thanks. Anyways, Ninja. Back in December 2016, Ninja either received or self-imposed a 48-hour suspension after doxing a viewer who donated using a racist alias. He actually released the person's address live on stream, which breaks Twitch's policy on sharing private info. He later admitted the suspension was deserved and publicly stated he'd be back Tuesday. That whole situation put a spotlight on how Twitch handles rule enforcement, especially when big names are involved. Then in March 2018, during a stream, Ninja tried to freestyle over Logic's song 44 More and ended up using a racial slur. He said he got tongue-tied and never meant to say it, but no specific punishment was ever made public. It's possible Twitch gave a warning or handled it privately, but nothing official showed up. Later that same year, he faced backlash for claiming he wouldn't stream with female gamers to avoid creating rumors about his relationship. That stirred a lot of conversation about inclusivity, even though it wasn't a bannable move. Another time, he accused someone of stream sniping and said he'd report them to get them banned, which sparked more drama. Through all of it, there's no record of him ever being permanently banned. Just that one short suspension. Pokimane. On January 8, 2022, she was live with about 25,000 viewers during a watch-along of Avatar: The Last Airbender when her stream suddenly got cut. It wasn't a technical issue, it was a copyright takedown. The show's owned by Viacom CBS, and streaming it without permission breaks DMCA rules. Twitch responded with a 2-day suspension, and Pokimane didn't argue with it. In fact, she tweeted that it was inevitable and fair, which honestly made the situation a lot smoother than it could have been. It was her first suspension on the platform despite years of streaming since starting her account back in 2013. At that point, she already had millions of followers and a huge presence across Twitch. The incident wasn't about behavior or conduct, it was strictly copyright enforcement. The timing lined up with a wave of streamers doing watch-alongs with full TV shows, which turned into a bigger debate about how risky that trend had become. Pokimane took the hit and then came back with a 12-hour stream to mark her return. That move kept her audience engaged and basically turned the suspension into a short intermission. The whole thing shows how even top streamers have to deal with the same copyright laws as everyone else. Nickmercs. In late June 2024, his Twitch account was suspended after he used a slur targeting transgender people during a live stream. The term he used violated Twitch's rules against hate speech, which protect gender identity among other categories. He confirmed the reason himself with a post that managed to acknowledge the ban, while doubling down in a way that made everything worse. Streamer bans and media outlets reported that the suspension lasted about a week before his channel came back online. The incident didn't come out of nowhere either. He'd already faced backlash in earlier years for comments around transgender topics, including a tweet in 2023 that got his Call of Duty skin removed. That earlier moment didn't result in a ban, but it definitely set the stage. When this slur hit live during a stream, Twitch acted fast. Though the exact length of the ban wasn't publicly confirmed by Twitch, the consensus is that it was short-term and not permanent. With millions of followers, any action against Nickmercs draws attention fast, and this was no different. After serving the suspension, he returned to the platform and continued streaming, but the controversy definitely left a mark on how he's viewed in the wider gaming and streaming space. Adin Ross. On February 25, 2023, Twitch banned him indefinitely for hateful conduct after he streamed his Kick chat full of anti-Semitic and racist messages for over 20 minutes without moderation. Twitch stated the ban wasn't due to one isolated event, but the result of accumulated violations. That stream tipped things over the edge, especially since it followed a pattern of suspensions tied to hateful language. Back on April 21, 2022, he was hit with an indefinite suspension after a homophobic slur incident on another streamer's broadcast. Even before that, in April 2021, he got a short 2-day ban when a guest on his stream used a slur, though he wasn't in the room at the time. Altogether, he racked up 8 separate suspensions between 2020 and 2023. At the time of the final ban, he had over 7 million followers, which made the fallout huge. After Twitch dropped him, he leaned into Kick and became one of its top creators. Then in March 2025, Twitch quietly reinstated his account, though his original follower count was gone. That return marked the end of a 2-year indefinite ban that had been widely called permanent at first, but Twitch left the door open and eventually, he walked back through it. Clicks. On April 22, 2023, during the Solo Victory Cup, he accepted in-game items from a stream sniper while live, which Epic Games flagged as teaming. That's a violation of competitive rules, specifically Section 8.2.2, and earned him a 14-day ban from Fortnite tournaments. He was also disqualified from the solo event and blocked from qualifying for the next 2 Fortnite Champion Series seasons. That one hit hard because it shut down a lot of upcoming competition opportunities. Before that, on September 13, 2022, Clix got temporarily suspended from Twitch after a Grand Theft Auto roleplay stream included content Twitch flagged as sexual conduct. His channel went dark, showing the usual generic message, and he tweeted about the ban right after. It was first reported as a 7-day suspension, but later updated to just 3. Even earlier, in February 2021, there was a rumored indefinite ban where his Twitch channel vanished, and he tweeted about being permabanned. Some speculated it was related to copyright issues like music, but there was no official reason confirmed. Each of these events shows a mix of platform and competitive rule enforcement, and while not all the bans were long, they definitely grabbed attention across the community. XQC. His Twitch history reads like a highlight reel of every kind of violation short of grand theft. On July 31, 2019, he caught a 3-day ban for streaming what was described as safe for work porn, but clearly wasn't Twitch safe. Just months later, on February 29, 2020, he streamed a game with actual nudity called Strip 4 Classmate Study and earned another 3-day timeout. Then in June 2020, a viewer baited him into showing two gorillas mating, which landed him a 24-hour ban. But the real headline came in November 2020, when he stream sniped during a Twitch Rivals Fall Guys tournament that got him banned for 7 days and barred from Twitch Rivals for 6 months. Plus, he had to forfeit his winnings. He still wasn't done. In July 2021, he streamed Olympic footage without rights and got suspended for just under 5 hours. A few weeks later, on August 14th, he was banned again for unclear reasons, but that ban was reversed within hours. None of these bans were permanent, and his account's still active. His mix of unpredictable content, aggressive energy, and total disregard for platform rules makes his ban history long, but somehow survivable in Twitch terms. Donald Trump. On January 8, 2021, Twitter permanently suspended the @RealDonaldTrump account after determining his posts posed a risk of further inciting violence. This came 2 days after the Capitol riot on January 6th, and Twitter cited violations of its glorification of violence and civic integrity policies. At the time, his account had more than 88 million followers. The ban included efforts to block evasion, with posts removed from other accounts like @POTUS and @Team Trump Facebook and Instagram also acted around the same time, blocking new posts and later enacting a 2-year suspension. Meta's oversight board upheld that decision in June and pushed for a policy review. Meanwhile, Snapchat locked his account and announced it would no longer promote his content. YouTube and several other platforms followed suit, either suspending accounts or limiting reach. These weren't routine moderation actions. They were responses to an unprecedented real-world event, with platforms citing specific dangers tied to his content. The ban wave triggered massive debates about platform power, political speech, and where moderation ends and censorship begins. Trump eventually launched Truth Social in 2022 as a workaround to re-establish direct communication with his audience after being blocked from the major platforms he had once dominated. Ice Poseidon. On April 27, 2017, while live streaming from an airport, a viewer called in a fake bomb threat using his name, leading to police pulling him off the plane. The next day, Twitch hit him with a permanent ban. They pointed to his real-time location sharing as a major issue, since it contributed to the swatting risk. Before that, in late 2016, he was already suspended for about a week when viewers used his text-to-speech system to broadcast phone numbers and other sensitive info. That earlier ban didn't end his run, but the airport incident definitely did. At the time of the permanent ban, he had nearly 300,000 followers and was one of the early pioneers of IRL streaming. His unpredictable mobile style was popular, but came with constant chaos, including repeated swatting incidents. After Twitch dropped him, he kept streaming on YouTube and later switched to Kick. The original Twitch ban is widely described as permanent, though the platform reportedly allows appeals after 6 months. Even though Twitch never published a complete policy breakdown, it's clear that a mix of real-time location sharing and escalating safety risks pushed them to cut ties. He's still streaming, just not on Twitch. Aiden. On December 12, 2022, Twitch suspended his account for roughly a week after he mimicked intercourse with his gaming chair during a live stream. Twitch flagged the moment under their sexually explicit content policy, which covers things like simulated sexual acts. Aiden didn't deny it. Instead, he tweeted a lighthearted message saying it might be time to tone things down. The whole thing was treated more like an awkward joke than a full-blown scandal, but Twitch still enforced the rules by pulling his account temporarily. According to public sources, this was the first time Aiden was suspended for anything in that category, and the incident gained attention mostly for how ridiculous it was. While it clearly crossed a line Twitch doesn't allow, it didn't involve nudity or anything graphic. Just enough to break the platform's boundaries on suggestive conduct. Twitch didn't provide any exact timestamps or deep policy citations, but the category used aligns with bans given for similar behavior. The 1-week suspension was consistent with how Twitch has responded to comparable violations in the past, and Aiden returned to streaming shortly after without much fallout. Still, it ended up on the growing list of strange reasons people have earned timeouts on the platform. Stable Ronaldo. As of October 19, 2024, He's racked up 5 Twitch bans, all temporary, with the longest stretch lasting 3 days. The most recent one reportedly stemmed from showing unlicensed gambling content, specifically a clip featuring another streamer using stake, which Twitch policy doesn't allow. That's based on speculation from media sources, since Twitch didn't give a detailed public reason. Earlier in 2024, he was banned in June and March, both lifted after 3 days. In November 2023, he caught another short ban, though the exact duration wasn't shared. Despite the growing list, none of these resulted in a permanent suspension. One article even floated the theory that the October ban might have had something to do with reckless driving on stream. But again, no confirmation from Twitch. What's consistent is that the bans are usually short, the reasons murky, and the reactions from his fans loud. With over 4 million followers and a link to FaZe Clan, he's got a big platform, which means even minor enforcement gets amplified. He's remained active between bans and hasn't faced any long-term disruption. But the trend suggests he's been walking the line of Twitch's policies, sometimes without even knowing where the line is. Amouranth. Since 2019, she's been banned from Twitch at least 6 times, with most of those tied to content that dances on the edge of Twitch's policies around suggestiveness. Her first recorded ban came in September 2019, reportedly due to a wardrobe malfunction during a stream. In June 2022, she received a temporary 3-day suspension for ASMR and yoga pose content that Twitch flagged as pushing the limits. Then in May 2023, she was banned for about a day, though no specific reason was made public. That same pattern repeated in July 2023. Another 1-day ban, again with Twitch keeping the details vague. In April 2024, she got a warning, not a ban, after a VOD included audio of a banned streamer. She wasn't even live at the time, but it still triggered moderation. The October 2021 incident stands out too. She was banned from Twitch, Instagram, and TikTok all at once, marking her 5th ban. At the time. Through all of this, none of the bans have been permanent. Twitch continues to let her return, even while her content constantly flirts with policy boundaries. She's built a massive following with hot tub streams, ASMR, and other controversial formats, and every ban only seems to fuel the conversation around what Twitch should allow. Caseytron. On March 18, 2020, Twitch suspended her account after she made a controversial joke about the coronavirus during a live group stream. She later acknowledged the comment as insensitive, and the ban was described as indefinite at the time, though it clearly wasn't permanent. That incident drew widespread media attention and became one of the earlier moderation flashpoints tied to pandemic-related content. Since then, she's accumulated a total of 4 bans, according to Streamer Bans, with her longest one lasting 10 days. Another reported ban hit on May 2, 2024, but neither she nor Twitch confirmed the reason or length. That one came and went without much public commentary, which is rare given how vocal Caseytron typically is. Most of her suspensions have been short-term, and none have resulted in permanent removal from the platform. The March 2025 ban, which ended on April 1st, is the most recent one tracked with confirmed unban timing. Even though the exact Twitch policy citations haven't been publicly disclosed for most of these incidents, the pattern shows that her content occasionally crosses into areas Twitch finds problematic. Still, with every return, she's kept her channel going and remained part of the streaming landscape despite repeated moderation hits. PewDiePie. On May 9, 2023, Twitch banned his account even though he wasn't live at the time. His channel had been airing reruns of older YouTube content non-stop, which raised flags about Twitch's evolving stance on archival or non-live streams. That particular ban got plenty of attention because his channel had only been reactivated a couple months earlier, running what was essentially an infinite loop of old videos. Then, on October 3, 2024, he was suspended again, this time for just 14 minutes and 24 seconds. The short duration points to an automated enforcement system catching something it didn't like, likely tied to the same rerun-style content. According to tracking sites, that was his 4th Twitch ban overall, though the full list isn't publicly detailed. While Twitch hasn't said exactly what he violated in either case, Both bans seem linked to the platform's stricter rules around restreaming and recycled material. There's no sign of a permanent ban, and he's still very much active as a creator. These blips haven't affected his broader online presence, but they show how Twitch continues to police non-traditional content formats, even when they're coming from one of the most recognizable names on the internet. If you enjoyed this, I post influencer and streamer content a lot here. I would greatly appreciate it if you could subscribe. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.